Hey everybody, this is Dr. Holcomb again. In this video, I will be reviewing ethos and pathos. Your syllabus says that there'll be two separate videos, one on ethos and the other on pathos. I'm going to try to combine them into a single video. So let's start with ethos. Now this is a slide that you've seen before with a definition of ethos. And I want to call your attention to right here the more specific descriptive terms for ethos. You all are going to be making or drafting your rhetorical analysis in the next couple weeks. And just a reminder that you can use, I'm going to go ahead and you can use ethos as a kind of umbrella term, but when you use it, be sure to always follow it up with more specific specifications, like a word like credibility, respectability, likability, authority, and so on. The other reminder here is when you do make some interpretive claim about ethos, you need to follow it up with some textual evidence from whatever text you're going to be analyzing, and then follow up that sample of text or that quote with a further sort of interpretive move so that your audience or your readers can understand how you arrived at your interpretation. What I want to do is just give you a couple more examples of ethos, because this is what you're going to be looking for as you when you select the text that you're going to do your rhetorical analysis on and begin to think about how you're going to analyze it. The first one is, let me just read it first. As a teacher who has taught in our schools, I have seen the No Child Left Behind Act fail again and again. This is an example of overt invocation of ethos. Here the writer is explicitly identifying herself professionally as a teacher, and then she follows that up with a claim about the No Child Left Behind Act. And the implication here is that her professional identity, her professional ethos, serves as a legitimization for this claim, that in a way it's support for the claim. And it kind of goes with how we kind of operate in the world, that we do often give deference towards people who do have some kind of authority or experience or professional credibility. The second one, this is from the George Saunders commencement speech, right from the beginning, a speech that you've all read. And my sense is ethos is also at work here, but in a much more complicated way. Let me read through it and then I'll talk a little bit about it. Okay, this is George Saunders. Down through the ages, a traditional form has evolved for this type of speech. He's talking about a commencement speech, which is some old fart, his best years behind him, who over the course of his life has made a series of dreadful mistakes, that would be me, gives heartfelt advice to a group of shining, energetic young people with all of their best years ahead of them. That would be you, and I intend to respect that tradition. In this passage, George Saunders is aware of the ethos that this occasion calls him to play, the persona that this occasion calls him to take on. That's the old fart part about it. And at the end, rather than saying, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to be I'm going to take on a different kind of persona, he kind of jokingly says, no, I will take on that persona. So in a sense, his ethos is kind of multivalenced here. He's taking on the role of the old fart, but then he's kind of undercutting it in a sense by saying that I'm aware that I'm taking on this role. So he kind of presents himself as a person with enough wit and humor to recognize this conventional role and to make a conscious choice to play it or not. There's also an element of self-disparaging humor here. I mean, he's referring to himself as an old fart, and in American culture, we tend to value people who can laugh at themselves. So this is contributing to his ethos. The larger point here is that we're continually presenting selves through our writing, through our speaking, through our dress, and we're continually taking on roles. Your job as an analyst is to figure out, to find the textual clues in the piece of writing that you're looking at, and recover from that the persona or the ethos that the writer is projecting. Let's move on to pathos. Oh, one other word. Extrinsic and intrinsic ethos. Both of those are good terms that you can use in your analysis. Now, the extrinsic ethos refers to the reputation of the speaker or the writer. The reputation or credibility that comes before or outside of a particular text. Intrinsic ethos occurs when the author explicitly invokes his or her ethos, like the example we just saw as a teacher, or does it, you can still have intrinsic ethos operating indirectly, like in the George Saunders passage we just saw. Okay, on to pathos. Again, this is a slide we've seen before, a definition of pathos, plus more specific language to make your own claims about pathos, or suggest some possibilities for making your own claims about pathos more concrete, more specific. And then again, you know, a reminder to use textual evidence to support your interpretations. Let's look at, okay, we've seen those examples before. Let's look at two new examples. The first one is from an essay that we've read, The Path Forward, about student debt. It's right at the beginning. Pathos, it's a fairly common strategy to begin a text either with an appeal to ethos, as the George Saunders did at the beginning of his commencement speech, or an appeal to pathos, as the writers of this text do. Let me read it. In a personal story posted on www.studentloanjustice.org, one distraught Oregonian stated, "I truly believe that if I got an education, I would be able to get out of poverty. With the student loan debt, I will never get out of poverty." This person was the only individual from their family to graduate from high school and desperately wanted to obtain a master's degree. Now, with debt exceeding $80,000, they are struggling to avoid homelessness. As you heard me read that, think about the emotions that the writer is trying to trigger or evoke from you, the reader, and the various textual clues or cues that the writer uses to evoke those emotions. What I did is I went through it myself and italicized and boldfaced words that serve as triggers of emotion. I mean, distraught. Poverty has a negative connotation. Debt, a negative connotation. Desperately, a negative connotation. Struggling and homelessness, things that, you know, are unfortunate occurrences to people and that might cause fear. And I think there's another more overarching appeal to pathos here, in the sense that here you have this Oregonian who was trying to beat the odds, to become the first person not only to graduate from high school, but to get a master's degree. This is an underdog. We root for the underdog. But the system worked itself out in an unjust way. So I think what the writers are trying to do is to make us feel the injustice in this particular Oregonian's plight. Let's look at the next passage. This is from an essay you haven't read. This is but I've pulled examples from it before. It's called "Declare Your Independence" by Joel Salatin. It's what he's asking his readers to declare their independence from is industrial produced foods. This appears in the essay. Let me read it. If you took away everything with an ingredient foreign to our 3 trillion intestinal microflora, the shelves of grocery stores would be bare indeed. In fact, if you just eliminated every product that would have been available in 1900, almost everything would be gone, including staples that had been chemically fertilized, sprayed with pesticides, or ripened with gas. Okay, again, I think pathos is operating in this passage, and I've italicized or bold-faced what seem to be primary triggers or clues that pathos is at work here. First one is you. This is the second person pronoun. This is a very common rhetorical strategy it's engaging the reader directly. That's who the you refers to. If you, the reader, in some cases it might be a general, a kind of a general personage, but I think he's really trying to get the reader's attention, and using the personal pronoun to do that. And he's also, I think, trying to shock the reader. Like 3 trillion. I have 3 trillion intestinal microflora. But even more shocking is that if you went to a grocery store and removed every product that had an ingredient that was foreign to your intestinal microflora, there would be nothing left. And then he kind of restates this idea in a different way, that if you eliminated every product that would have been available in 1900, almost everything would be gone. Again, I think he's trying to shock the reader. And in the last part, I read this and I get angry. I think that the principal emotion here is anger, that these food companies are buying or producing food or processing food that's been chemically fertilized, sprayed with pesticides, or ripened with gas. Think about that. That's a pretty horrifying image. Think that your, tomato has been ripened with gas. So I think what he's doing here is calling upon the emotions of kind of shock and anger, and using them to put the reader in a particular frame of mind, one that would be more likely to consent to his broader claims about opting out of industrial food production. Okay, folks, that concludes our little review of ethos and summary. In the next video, I'm going to be going over the guidelines for the first essay, Essay 1, which is a rhetorical analysis. And what I've done here is try to give you some more examples to model how you can talk about text and use ethos, pathos, and logos as leverages. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.